Alright folks, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can use the object select tool and a few other tools as well. If you have an image that you want to cut something out that has a very complex background. So you can see on this video here, this, which you've all seen before because I did in a lesson I think a few months back, this is a really busy image. So what I mean by that is we've got a lot of things going on there, lots of colours that are quite similar to each other. So what that means is using something like the object select tool is probably going to be not useless, but it's not going to have an easy time to make selections, because the object selection tool, the way it works is usually by colour. So if there's a lot of matching colours going on there, it's not really going to be able to isolate the part of the image that you want. So I'm going to show you how we can use a few other tools to get really precise selections on a very complicated image. So for this example, I'm going to be showing you how to cut out this fella here on the bike. Alright, why you might do that doesn't matter, but it's just, you know, for an example. So before I start, I'm going to unlock my layer by clicking on the padlock, and then just to start us off, I am going to use the object select tool and draw around the cyclist just to see how much of a good but probably bad job the object select tool will do. I mean, it'll give it a good go, so let's just let it load. Don't forget, my version is going to look a little bit different to yours, and will probably load a bit faster because my computer is not ancient. So this will take maybe a minute. There you go. Oh, actually, that's actually not done that bad of a job, really. Better than I thought it was going to do. But you can still see there that it's not perfect. You know, I've got a little bit of his head not in the shot. I've got that random thing there, whatever that is in the background. So what I'm going to need to do is tidy this up a little bit. So I'm going to use a tool called the Quick Mask tool. Now the Quick Mask tool is basically a way for you to make really precise cutouts for your image, and to use I've literally forgotten the name of it now. The Quick Mask tool, you're going to press Q on the keyboard. Now what should happen is when I press Q, the canvas is going to go all red like that. Now what you can see there is, if you think about your selection, anything that's in red is not going to be included in the selection, and anything that's in the original colour is going to be included in the selection. So obviously you can see there we've got quite a lot of black parts of the image that we don't want, quite a lot of grey bits, so we want to try and get rid of that. So what we're going to do, using this with Q selected, and if you ever get a bit unsure whether you've got the Quick Mask tool selected or not, first of all you've got loads of red there, but second of all your layer will be highlighted Q like that. So with my Quick Mask selected, I'm going to get my paintbrush tool, which is this one here, or you can press B for short. And then make a brush a bit bigger so you can see it. I'm going to use my paintbrush tool to basically add and remove parts of the selection that I don't want, or parts of the selection I want to bring back, like his shoe here. Now the way this works now is I can use the black and white colours here to add and remove parts of the image that I want to keep and parts that I want to get rid of. I can't remember which way it's round. So if I use the black paintbrush like it is now, doesn't do anything, so I want a white. So if I choose the white colour there, you can see there that I can basically use the brush and draw over parts of the layer that I want to keep. So I want to keep a shoe in there like that. Alright, and you can see that's a little bit rough on this side here, so I'm going to switch that to black, make my brush a bit smaller, and I'm just going to polish up the edges a little bit around there. Now I'm not going to lie, this method does take a long time, but if you've got a very busy image like this, you're not going to want to rush it, because if you rush it, it will look rubbish, and you will get really, you know, scruffy, rough cutouts for whatever it is you've been asked to do. And obviously you don't want that. You want it to look nice and smooth, nice and tidy. So I'm just going to go around and basically just brush up, no pun intended, the edges around the outside. Who am I kidding? That pun was definitely intended. Now obviously bits like this that's quite tricky because it's hard to see what's going on. It's hard to know what parts of the image, which bits are part of the image, or which parts are like background stuff. So I'm just going to sort of just rush this bit here because it's only a practice. And to be fair, you hopefully shouldn't really need to use this technique if your photography is really good. But you never know, you might be using a image that you found online, you might be using, I don't know, some outside photography that you've had to do. It all depends on what the brief's asking us to do. So you never know, You might completely make a pig's ear of your studio photography and therefore you have to rely on this sort of stuff. But if that is the case, it's not the end of the world, because what that means is it means you've got something really useful to talk about in your production diary. So you can say something along the lines of, I absolutely completely messed up my photography of my studio, therefore I had to resort to using tools like this to basically undo the damage that my rubbish photo shoot did. But hopefully you're all going to absolutely smash your photo shoot anyway, so you might not need to worry too much about it. And I've got no idea if that's part of his arm or not. I'm just going to get rid of it because it's annoying me, it looks weird anyway. So I'm just going to go around, smooth out all these edges. You shouldn't really be rushing this either, alright? If you rush it, it will look scruffy as well. So you've got to take your time. Obviously if it's a very complex image, that image is going to take a while to do, but it might take maybe, I don't know, if it's a really complicated image, 5-10 minutes to do this, maybe even longer, but the results will speak for themselves and you will get a really nice, really smooth cutout of your object. So, and it's one of those things as well that you can't really tell how it's going until after you've finished it, so we won't really get an accurate assessment of how good a job, or how bad a job maybe, I've done of this until we're finished. But you know me, I'm probably going to do a good job on this. So obviously that's the outside bits done. I'm going to do these bits as well, because even though this is just a practice video, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm not going to, ignore these bits in the middle as well. So I'm going to do these bits in the middle of the bike just because I can. And again, I'm just emphasising how much you shouldn't really be rushing this stuff. There is still a few more steps that we need to do once we've finished cutting out the part of this image, but obviously I'll go through those when I finish these. So still got a few more bits to go. You can, if you want to, adjust the softness of your brush if you want it to be a bit softer around the edges or a bit harder around the edges. If you want to increase and decrease the brush size as well, hold Alt on your keyboard next to the spacebar, hold the right click button on your mouse and you can move your cursor left to right and you can make your brush size a bit bigger and you can make it a bit smaller. I would always suggest that when you're getting your when you're working on edges, you want to make your brush size smaller, because that way your selection might be more precise. Don't forget as well, if you do make a pig's ear and you go like that, whoops, you can just switch to white and get rid of that. Alright, again, that's the point of doing your selections this way. As I mentioned on the previous video, this is a non-destructive way of masking parts of your picture. So anything you don't like, excuse me, my voice went there, anything you don't like, doing it this way means if you really do a really bad job of it, then you can just undo it all and start. You don't need to undo it all and start again. Oh, I've got loads left. So I'd always recommend doing it this way. Yes, it does take a bit longer, but it will save you time in the long run, because it means you won't have to go back and start again if you completely mess it up. So regardless of the quality, regardless of how confident you are, this way, if you want to use the eraser tool, I really wouldn't, because that is a destructive way of manipulating photographs, and if you do it that way and you mess it up, you ain't getting it back. Right, a little bit left to do now. Let's zoom in there. So, like I said, hopefully you might never need to use this, alright, but it all depends on the complexity of the image. So I deliberately chose an image that is quite complicated just to give you an idea of how effective this tool can be. Right, that'll do because I'm bored now. Okay, so I've got my selection done now using my quick mask, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Q on the keyboard again, and what that should do is it should show me my selection like that. Okay, so I pressed Q again, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button here, add layer mask, and what it's going to do is it's going to mask my selection like that. So there you go. So you can see there it's a little bit rough around the edge of that tyre there, but the rest of it looks okay. It's not terrible, you know. So if you do, when you do your mask, if you're not happy with it and you wanna make some adjustments, like I might want to smooth that tyre out again, just undo your mask, press Q again, and you can carry on as normal. So I'm just going to smooth that bit out a little bit just to make it a bit neater, because I don't like that, because I imagine if you're a cyclist and your tyre feels like that, it's not going to be a very comfortable ride. So let's just smooth that out a little bit. Oh my god, looks like it's got a flat tyre. There we go. So you can always go back and continue with your cutout if you want to. Smooth that bit out a bit. Zoom out. Oh, missed a bit there. Schoolboy error. Okay, that'll do. That'll do nicely. So again, I've finished my selection. I'm going to press Q on my keyboard to release the quick mask, and then I'm going to add a layer mask. And here we go. Got my selection nice and cut out. Not perfect, but considering the complexity of the image, that's not a bad job that at all. Like I said, hopefully you'll never need to use this, but it's a useful tool to use if you need to cut out a part of an image that's incredibly busy. One thing I would say is it's a little bit faded around that edge there. You can see there how it's a little bit faded there. Alternatively, I would probably suggest that for an image like that, you might want to make your brush size a little bit harder, because you can see there, my brush hardness is only 30%. If I was to bring this up to maybe something like 80%, the cutout would be much more harsh and much more straight. So for something like that, if you don't want it to look faded around the edge, just bring the hardness of your brush up and down, or well, higher. Again, the shortcut for that is hold Alt on the keyboard, hold the right click button, and then move it up and down. You can see there that the hardness of the brush is going up and down. So left and right for the size, or left and right like that, and then up and down for the softness of the brush. Alright, so I think that's pretty much all you need to know for cutting out a complex image. Like I said, hopefully you don't need to use that, but if you do need to use it, it's a good option to have. Chances are you probably will have to cut out an image in the exam, because it's been on a few different exam papers, so it's a useful tool to know. But start with the basic one first, because if you're doing your photos in the studio, that should do the job pretty easily for you, because chances are you're likely to have an image that contrasts really well against the white or grey backdrop. But if you do need to do something more complicated, this is an option to use. So make sure you practice having a go at this one, because there's a few little individual steps in there that people do tend to forget. So just bear that in mind. Alright, any questions, send me an email. There are loads of other tutorials on this that you can look at on YouTube if you get a bit stuck. But other than that, I'll catch you next time. Bye.